It is so hard to find someone who hasn't been affected by cancer. And in this interview today, I'm so excited to be able to talk to Darcie Wells about how to build a nonprofit as well as create more hope in the face of cancer. And today we have Darcie Champagne Wells of CanCare here. Hello, Darcie.
Hi, Diane.
Yeah, and today we get to talk about how, like, twofold, and this is really great for all of our listeners because you're going to be able to share more about how you've been able to build a nonprofit in such a short amount of time. So many business tips that we're going to be able to take away from this and inspiration, as well as how CanCare is creating so much hope in the face of cancer. So why don't we start? Tell us a little bit about you first, and then we'll dive into CanCare.
Absolutely. Thanks, Diane. So thrilled to be here today with you. And so I'm a bit of an accidental entrepreneur. Been in the nonprofit space for 25 years. Honestly, didn't know that you could make a career in nonprofit leadership. I mean, I was kind of on the track of, get my business degree and get my MBA, going to be in business, going to be in HR. And found myself making a turn early in my 20s and ended up at a nonprofit. I've been in nonprofit ever since. And it has been
Wow.
so amazing to be able to take the business skills I so love, but put them to work in a mission that makes a difference for people. So that's what I'm all about. So now it's been 5 years now I've been with CanCare, which is an incredible mission. I know we'll delve into more today, but that's really been my kind of career journey. I've got two amazing teenage boys, which is a whole lot of fun. So we're in a lot of band, a lot of squeaky instruments in the house right now, which is a lot
Wow.
of fun. But yeah, life is good.
Yeah, I'm glad you threw in there also that you're a mom because
Yeah.
a lot of times we feel maybe alone in building our business or our career or whatever we're doing and have the stressors of
Yeah.
family life as well. Well, you alluded to the mission, but let's dive in a little bit more to CanCare. Can you explain what CanCare even does, why the concept of a survivor by their side is so powerful?
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone who's been touched by cancer, whether it's themselves or if you've had a loved one touched by cancer, you understand that the cancer journey is not just a physical journey.
Mm.
It is an emotional and mental and spiritual journey as well. And so your healthcare team is focused on healing your body, making you well, getting you to that point where you can ring the bell. But who is really focused on supporting you through the emotional roller coaster that is cancer? So for 35 years now, CanCare has provided hope and healing to our cancer community by ensuring that anyone facing cancer can have a survivor by their side. So, what we do is we connect cancer patients as well as family members, friends, anyone who loving someone with cancer with trained survivor and caregiver volunteers who have walked a similar path. So, what makes it really powerful is that these people really get it. You
Yeah.
can be surrounded by friends and family in your cancer journey, but if you don't have that person who really understands what you're going through, it can be incredibly lonely. It's a whole new world of treatment and medical jargon and just overwhelming emotions. And so to have that person in your corner to walk with you on that journey it's powerful. There's just nothing like it.
I'm really glad that you said that they're trained because
Yeah.
as much as you've lived the experience, it doesn't mean that you're the best fit
Yeah.
or have the skill set to be able to support someone. And imagine as a cancer survivor, you know what not to say in
You'd
certain
be
situations.
surprised though.
Okay, well, the training, that's so good that there's training. And I think that's something that everyone needs to be thinking about. If they have volunteers in their organization, are they properly trained to meet the needs of the position that they're serving?
That's been something important to us from day one. We had mental health professionals design our training and lead our training. So
Wow.
when our survivor and caregiver volunteers are going through their training process, they've got those mental health professionals, many of whom are cancer survivors or caregivers themselves. So they understand that too,
Yeah.
coaching them through that and going through the role plays and, just really actively working with them for what it would be like to support someone and coaching them along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. And And I can just imagine that kind of deep reassurance in someone going through cancer to know that person gets me. And
Yeah.
look at them now. Look at them now.
That is a huge, huge point, Diane, because I think there's so much hope in seeing someone with your exact diagnosis alone. Oftentimes, someone facing cancer, they might know other people who've had cancer, but do they know someone who's had their cancer? And so meeting someone who has their cancer, who may be 5, 10, 15 years out of the cancer journey, they can start to envision themselves as a survivor. And it just really changes that mentality and just infuses hope into that cancer journey.
And it probably takes pressure off the family to be the one to be there. Because my father had colon cancer and he passed away 5 years ago, probably just about the time that you were picking
Yeah.
up the leaders, uh, the
Mantle.
leaders
Mhm.
staff. Yeah. And that was the thing was I had to educate myself on everything. And my mom had to be there in other capacities. And so
Yeah.
that's something like that probably would have been really supportive. Now, I've been impacted. I know if people want to read your full bio, it's going to be in the show notes. I know that you've been affected, right? You've mentioned that you've been a cancer caregiver yourself. How did that personal experience shape your understanding of what patients and families truly need?
Yeah, so over an 8-year period, we went through three back-to-back kind of diagnoses among my immediate family. My mother and my stepfather and my grandmother all faced cancer in an 8-year period. And they live in Colorado, and I live in Texas and had very young children at the time. So it was really challenging for me to understand how I could provide support, especially being
Mhm.
remote, far away. And I think one of the biggest takeaways that I had from my own cancer experience with them is that cancer doesn't just happen to the patient. It happens to the entire family system. And so supporting the whole family, not just the patient, is critical. And we
Mm,
do that at CanCare as well. I didn't even know about CanCare, when I was walking through my family's journey. So when I got the call from a headhunter saying, "Hey, you would be great for this position," it just immediately touched my heart. I was like, wow, I could have so used this in my journey. And it just really said, yes, I want to bring this to as many people as I can.
yeah, and that's part of why I wanted to make sure that you came on the podcast was to give that like to just be able to bring the message out there to more people. A little backstory, Darcie and I are actually meeting 3 times a year at a mastermind in Vegas, which you may think like, why isn't why is the president and CEO of like a nonprofit at a mastermind? Well, as we were chatting earlier, it is like a business. And so actually, why don't we jump to that a little bit? So when you joined CanCare, and I'm kind of making the sim with my head. So if you're listening to the podcast, maybe you want to jump over to YouTube and watch us right
Yeah.
now, but you kind of brought it from what it was to where it is now. I'm going to let you kind of talk through that and share a little bit more about the expansion of a
Yeah.
nonprofit.
Absolutely. So, I was brought in at a time where, CanCare had lost its CEO, and the board really said, we want to find a leader who can help us grow and accelerate what at the time was a 30-year-old organization that had been doing exceptional work, but was kind of trucking along and hadn't really leapt forward. And so I joined the organization during COVID.
Wow.
So it was fall of 2020. All of my interviewing was all doing during Zoom. We were still really shut down, which was a really interesting experience. I actually didn't meet my board chair, who's technically my boss, for like 6 months in person. But it was a pivotal time in the organization, and they were really looking for someone with an entrepreneurial mindset, someone who wasn't
Mm.
just looking at it from a mission growth standpoint, but from a business acumen, because nonprofits are businesses. They may not be in it for profit to shareholders, but they are businesses, but not all of them are run like businesses.
Mm.
So they brought me in, and it's of course the fire hose experience, of learning a new organization in a small
Right.
organization. And you'd think about maybe a smaller organization could be easier to lead, but I've learned that probably the opposite is true because you have fewer resources. So, I've got this image of someone wearing like 20 hats right on top of their head. And
Yes.
that's, definitely, coming in and learning the finance, the legal, the operations, the mission, the human resources, all of that rested on me because, in a small organization, you don't have the ability to have someone tapped for all of those things. And so it was incredible as a business lover to learn these new aspects of things that maybe I hadn't even been exposed to before and to get my hands dirty. And really, the challenging part, I think, was really honing in on, we're small, so we can't do it all. So what are the things that we're going to do to really propel us forward? And the big pivotal moment for us was leveraging what happened to us in COVID. We were all shut down. We were all working virtually. Our volunteers could no longer go into hospitals to provide in-person support. We were forced to really connect people virtually, whereas in the past they might get together more over a cup of coffee, but that limited us to being in Houston. And
Yeah.
so it was the moment, and we had a bold enough board who said, yes, it's time. Let's use this moment in time when everyone has had to get used to a virtual environment to propel us forward. And so we said, we're no longer just a Houston-based organization. We now serve clients in all 50, states and anywhere in North America. And we have volunteers. We'll do the same thing with volunteers. So in the last few years, we have served clients from all across the US, and we have volunteers in 28 states and 5 countries just in five
Wow.
years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Like I would clap for you. I just don't want to scare our podcast guests.
It's been a wild ride and it's just
That's
so
awesome.
rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah, and a few things like listeners, a few things I'm hearing from Darcie was she's looking at the nonprofit like a business. And so for you, if you're not running a nonprofit, you're still running a business and it's probably small and you feel like and you relate to Darcie being like, I'm wearing all these hats. And that's the thing is we have maybe empire dreams, but we're on this like pauper's budget of, well, we have to make do with what we have. And so Darcie has the same amount of time
Yeah.
as you do. So take that as your inspiration of like, what could the next big thing be for me? Is it expanding? Could I offer it further out? Can I kind of build things up?
Your comments just gave me a thought too. So, as a nonprofit, we have a board of directors, and it's a volunteer board of directors. These are people
Yeah.
who are serving out of their own personal time. And so part of the way that we did this and that we've really grown and propelled ourselves forward was by being curating the right board of directors, skill sets in the board of directors, get the attorney on board, get the marketing specialists on board, get the operational leaders, the customer success
Mhm.
people, and curating that because I have a skill set, but I don't have expertise in everything, so it's surrounding myself with those people. And I think even if you're not running a nonprofit with a board of directors, you can create your own personal board of directors. You can surround yourself with people who have those skill sets, who are invested in your success, who can give you that coaching and to help and guide you along the way. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, that's so good because we've talked about the volunteer component of survivors giving or sharing with mentoring those going through cancer journey at the moment. And then also this board that is mentoring all of you and supporting all of you. And sometimes it's just cheering you on or saying, yes, go for it. And that kind of encouragement is important. So
Yeah.
you've been able to now go across all 50 states and as we know into fully into North America. I'm in Canada. You already said that you can serve those in North America as well. So you've served over 50,000 people. I got my stats here. And so what does that mean to be able to like reach that many people in like practical terms for someone that's just been diagnosed?
Yeah. So it happens in a couple of different ways because no one size does not fit all, right? So, one of our core ways that we support cancer patients and caregivers is through our one-on-one matching program. So I consider it like the match.com of cancer support. So you give us some info, we find the right people in our database who match you best and match you up. It's like the match.com for cancer support. So that's one of the programs. Another way is our volunteers can go physically into hospitals as people are going in for cancer treatment and visit with them and provide that emotional support in person. And then during COVID, we also launched virtual support groups. So now people from all over can join together and join a community of people who are going through the exact same thing that they're going through. So that was a business model change as well, post COVID.
Yeah. And since you've mentioned a few times that we've talked a few times now about the volunteers, I'm sure there are survivors listening that are going, "Well, how do I get involved? How do I mentor someone going through this? I want to help. I want to use my journey for good." What would be kind of the next steps for them?
Absolutely. So, whether you are a cancer survivor yourself or you loved someone through the cancer journeys, we call that a cancer caregiver. No matter which of those roles you've played, you can be a part of this mission and you can be a part of giving hope to someone facing cancer. So, it's as simple as on our website, we have an application to become a volunteer, asks you some questions about your cancer journey. And we screen our volunteers, make sure they're ready, emotionally ready to
Hmm.
support
Right.
someone facing cancer, because if they haven't worked through their own journey, it can be difficult to support someone else. So we gauge that. And then, our training that's 35 years old, has been refined over 35 years, is designed by mental health professionals. So our training is designed and led by mental health professionals. And you go through a group cohort
Hmm.
of people who are survivors and caregivers like you together, and you're learning first how to process your own emotional journey. What emotions did you have? How do you name them? How did you work through them and navigate them so you're aware of how you handled your own journey? And then we shift to now, how do you support someone who's facing that as well? And that same formula works for both survivors as well as if you were a caregiver. So we take you through that. Once you're through the training process and certified, then you are eligible for matching and that match.com concept. And you can
Yep.
decide how many clients, we call them clients, that we serve. You can decide how many people you can take on, when you're available, when you're not available. It's totally up to you. And you get a text like you would match a notification if you're on a dating app, to say, hey, we have a match for you. Check it out. Are you available to meet with them? And then you start a relationship with them. And then if you are facing cancer yourself personally, whether as the patient or as the caregiver, we're here for you today. So you can reach out to us at cancare.org, our website, and fill out a few questions about what you're going through, and then we'll match you with the right volunteer to walk alongside with you in that journey.
Amazing. Amazing. So any type of info will be at cancare.org, but
Got it.
specifically for volunteers.
Yes. cancare.org/volunteer. And you can read testimonials on our website from volunteers and from our clients just about how meaningful this is. And our volunteers tell us that they feel like they get more out of the experience than even the person that they're serving. It's even part of your continual healing and emotional journey as a survivor or as a caregiver as well. So we would welcome you all listening to join our family.
Great. And for those who are on their walk with cancer, what is their link?
cancare.org/support. And that will show you the options we have there, including the one-on-one matching, or some prefer the support group option, and we can do that as well.
Oh, oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Wow. It sounds like such an enriching opportunity for volunteers. We'll make sure that in the show notes we have all of these links so that anyone wants to go check it out. And please think of other people in your life that you can share these with. Maybe you have, I'm sure you have inspiring cancer survivors around you. And this could be a really healing and energy or life-giving opportunity for them. So please share this with others as well as just share the whole episode and then they can learn more about CanCare. So you like we're talking about hope in the face of cancer. You also have a best-selling book and podcast. And so people like, listen to this. Business owners, hold that up again. Business
Yeah.
owners, think about this. A nonprofit has a best-selling book, has a amazing podcast. So tell us more about like what kind of went through your mind about why to do this, and then what the kind of what does the book hold? What's in it?
Why to do this? Peer pressure. So sitting with you and our colleagues at our mastermind who kept telling me, you do what? You know how many stories you have of amazing survivorship stories? Why haven't you written a book yet? So this year is our 35th anniversary, and I said, okay, it's time. So last fall, as we were preparing for our 35th anniversary, I said, you know what? I want to be able to publish this for our 35th. I did it in 90 days. And, I'm one that needs that kind of time pressure, like
Yeah.
focus to get it done. Such an incredible experience. Cast out our net to our volunteers and our clients and said, please share your stories with us. And so it's this compilation of over 50 stories of survivors and caregivers and healthcare professionals all talking about their personal journeys
Mm.
and messages of hope for anyone facing cancer. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful book. And it's been such an opportunity for us to reach a broader audience. Maybe someone doesn't want to pick up the phone or go online and reach out to CanCare for support, but they're willing to open a book and read the stories, and just story after story that will give them the hope that they too can see themselves in 5, 10, 15 years as that survivor. So that's been so powerful. And then the podcast accompanying that has been incredible. I actually just learned yesterday that we won an Indie Award as well for an International
Wow.
Indie Award for this book. So
Incredible.
super excited about that. So that's something too that, if you have someone in your life who's facing cancer, sometimes we just don't know, what can I do? How can I help this person? Something like this is a beautiful gift, and it just shows your heart, but it also provides helpful tools, helpful stories, but also resources, chocked full of resources in the back of the book with tons of different references to other organizations who do things that CanCare doesn't do, and helpful tips. But how do you tell your child that you have cancer? Or how do you care for your parent? All those resources in this book as well. So it's been a beautiful experience.
Yeah, and I can imagine a caregiver reading it,
Yeah,
right? That like hope that they need would be so
absolutely.
good to have there. Now,
Absolutely.
if people want, or because people will want to pick up a copy,
Yes.
we'll make sure, is this on on the website as well? Is this
Yes, on
Amazon?
cancare.org/hope book, or you can find it on Amazon as well.
Perfect. So we'll make sure that those links are also in the show notes. Keep it super simple for everyone. And, tip, when you go get it off Amazon, you can easily ship it to anyone, anywhere, all of your friends who potentially need this book. Now, if we put the building a nonprofit or business hat back on, what has been the benefit for you in having the book, in having the podcast? And you're also a LinkedIn thought leader,
Yeah.
right? Using
Yeah.
that platform. So say more because I want the listeners to be thinking about how can I apply these things to my business?
Sure. So when we set out to do the book, the intention wasn't to make a bunch of money for the organization off book sales, because that typically, doesn't happen. It was really to be able to provide, our mission is to provide a survivor by the side of anyone facing cancer. Like I said, we know that not everybody's going to pick up the phone or go online and contact us. So the book is a way for us to extend that mission and be able to provide a survivor by their side in book form if they're not going to reach out and call us. But from a business standpoint, it was really transformational from us from a strategic partnership building standpoint and a marketing standpoint. So having a book, as you well know, because you've got quite a few,
Sure.
opens doors that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to open. It gets you invited onto media appearances or on guests on podcasts and things like that, where it gives us an invitation to amplify our mission in ways that we hadn't done before. It also has been instrumental, the book and the podcast, for partnership building. If I call someone up, and I did this with the book too, I called up and said, I'd like to feature you in this book. You know, Someone that may not have returned my call before that, but they said, "Oh, sure." And now I've got a relationship with that person. Or the same thing with the podcast, using it strategically to get in front of, build relationships with people that may not have otherwise answered our calls. So it's been wonderful to just raise our overall visibility, but it's been great with that strategic relationship building and getting us maybe in front of people we couldn't have done so otherwise.
Amazing, amazing. And since you dropped a few numbers there and we spoke about you don't really make a ton of money off a book, but it's the doors and the opportunities that come from that. So you've gone from your MBA, your business acumen in the corporate world into nonprofit, and now you've transformed this business. And some of the stats are growing revenue by 60%, cash reserves by 300%, and as we know, expanding to serving 50,000 people. Any other tips and tricks? Because those are some pretty impressive numbers. So, how else were you able to do it? And everyone listening, get a pen and paper, write this down.
Well, any small business owner, entrepreneur knows that they've got a ton of competing priorities. So for me, it was really getting laser focused with our board on what the most important factors for our success would be
Mm,
and looking at those regularly. So I've got regular board meetings. So we have a dashboard where we're looking at those things that we said were most important every single board meeting. You may not have that when you're running your own business, but maybe you've got an accountability group that you can do that with so that you feel that accountability to those goals that you've set. So being laser focused, putting, majority of your resources behind the things that are going to move the needle most. If you spread yourself too thin, you won't do anything very well. And so I think focus and tenacity and courage and not being afraid to fail have been the keys to that success. We took some big leaps and I will tell my board, I don't know that this is going to work, but I'm going to give it a try. And if it doesn't, we'll move on. We'll fail fast and move forward. Um, but be with me and let's all rally together to give it a try. You got to be willing to take some steps out. You can't grow. And so it's like, faith over fear.
So I'm just going to stop our interview now because that was an amazing answer. Now we've got a couple more questions before we wrap up. That was so good. So good. Yeah, I love the whole thing of I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to give it a try. That really stuck out for me. And the other piece, the other benefit of the board, I know that my clients, they'll say, I got all my homework done but it was last night at like 11. I'm like, hey, but you did it. You did it. And so, listeners, make sure you have someone that you're accountable to. You have someone that's going to call you out if you don't get those things done, and not as a way of pushing you down, but as a way of expanding you and letting your, as you say, your mission actually live and reach more people. That's really the key here.
You can even put together, I've got a group of girlfriends. We have an accountability group together. We meet every 2 weeks. And I will say something, to them, I'm going to do this. And so next 2 weeks, when we get together, they're going to ask me, so what'd you do? And so sometimes you have to create accountability in your life. If it doesn't exist already, create that accountability mechanism because it will drive you. You don't want to disappoint other people, right? So, being accountable to someone, it's tougher when you're an entrepreneur because you don't have that infrastructure there, but you can create that infrastructure.
Exactly. Exactly. Just like when you're going through cancer, you can create that infrastructure around you to support you. So,
Mhm.
as we wrap up with this final question here, you've given us so many good mic drop moments around building, really, our listeners being able to build their business using what you've done in nonprofit, as well as the great work CanCare is doing. But what advice would you give our listeners who either need support themselves or they want to support someone facing cancer?
Absolutely. If you need support, first, knowing that asking for help is not weakness, it is wisdom.
Hmm.
Reach out to us. Don't try to be superhuman. I'll tell people, take off your cape. It's not the time for that. You don't have to figure everything out on your own. We're here for you. If you want to support someone, if you have a friend or a loved one who's going through a cancer journey, I would say show up in small ways
Hmm.
rather than trying to make grand gestures. So things like asking them, can I bring you dinner on Tuesday? Instead of saying, let me know if you need anything. That's a
Yeah.
very overwhelming question for someone facing cancer. They're like, I don't know what I need right now. So if you can come to them with a specific suggestion, it is a gift to the person facing cancer.
Hmm.
I would say listen more than you try to fix. Someone facing cancer needs to be heard. They don't need to be solved. And if you, of course, have been through cancer yourself, consider joining our family. We need you, and your experience and your story and your survival could be exactly what someone else needs to hold on to hope in their journey.
So good. Thank you, Darcie. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the work that you're doing. It's really impressive, right? And impactful, and impactful. So, can I ask all of you listening today or watching that you at least send this to three people? Three people who have been impacted because they're in the journey or they were in the journey, whatever it may be. Please send this out to people. Let them know and have this be maybe for the next couple of weeks part of your conversation. Did you know about CanCare? Did you know about CanCare? Keep asking people that and letting them know about this so that we can spread the word even further beyond where you've already reached. So thank you, Darcie, so much. I appreciate it. I know our listeners have taken away a lot from this. For everyone, if you haven't yet, please hit subscribe. Make sure that you write a review. And when you do, email me or email my team@dianerolston.com, a screenshot of that with your mailing address so that we can send you a little something special in the mail. And if you want to stay connected to Dynamic Women in the podcast, there are more ways to do that in the show notes. Please check that out. And until next time, stay dynamic. Bye.